Hey, have you heard? I'm going back to Las Vegas and the Punk Rock Museum to give guided tours. This happens to coincide with the When We Were Young Festival. I'll be there over the course of 4 days, October 16th, 17th, 18th, and 19th. 2 tours a day, one at 1:30 p.m. and one at 4:30 p.m. These tours will sell out. Space is limited, so grab your tickets now at thepunkrockmuseum.com. I got stories for days, and I can't wait to share them with you. So don't miss your chance to walk the halls of the museum and share punk rock memories with me. Head over to thepunkrockmuseum.com and get your tickets now. See you soon. This episode is brought to you by DistroKid.
Hey everybody, Chris Fafali is here again to do my trivia-filled introduction to our Throwback Thursday episode. This week, we're throwing it back to May of 2023 when Slug from Atmosphere sat in to discuss the writing and recording of the uplifting single, The Best Day. The song is from Atmosphere's double EP To All My Friends, Blood Makes the Blade Holy, that was released on September 7th of 2010. I wanted to get you all in the September 2010 zone before the episode, so here's what was happening around the time of the release of the EP. So on September 6th of 2010, The King's Speech premiered at the Telluride Film Festival. That movie would go on to win Best Picture at the Oscars in 2011. On September 12th of 2010, the 27th MTV VMAs were held at the Nokia Theater in LA. Lady Gaga was nominated 13 times, making her the most nominated artist in VMA history for a single year. She actually had 2 nominations for Video of the Year, as Bad Romance and Telephone were both nominated for it. Bad Romance actually ended up winning it, and she won 8 Moon Men on the night. This is also where she wore the dress made of raw meat for some reason. That's something else that happened. Other winners this night included Eminem, Justin Bieber, The Black Keys, Muse, Florence and the Machine, and 30 Seconds to Mars. But Lady Gaga still won most of the awards that night. On September 17th, the documentary Who is Harry Nilsson and Why is Everybody Talking About Him was released. And if you haven't seen this yet, you absolutely should. And that also reminds me that I should tell Chris that we should do a Legends Amplified episode about Nilsson. I love Nilsson, and his story is very interesting. On September 24th of 2010, the David Fincher Facebook movie The Social Network premiered at the New York Film Festival. And on September 26th, Downton Abbey premiered in the UK. You might be surprised to know that I watched Downton Abbey, even though I could only understand about half of what they were saying. On the same day that Downton Abbey premiered, actress Gloria Stewart passed away at the age of 100. You might know her as the old lady in Titanic, but what you might not know is that she was also the founder of the Screen Actors Guild. So make sure you bust that little piece of trivia out on somebody today. Some popular songs in September of 2010 were Teenage Dream by Katy Perry, which I think is her best song, Love the Way You Lie from Eminem featuring Rihanna, Dynamite from Teo Cruz, Just the Way You Are from Bruno Mars, DJ Got Us Fallen in Love from Usher featuring Pitbull. There's like a lot of Pitbull features on these charts when I was looking at them. Magic by B.O.B. featuring Rivers Cuomo, and also Airplanes by B.O.B. featuring Hayley Williams. It was a big moment for B.O.B. Wonder whatever happened to B.O.B. I should try to get B.O.B. to come on the podcast. Anyway, also Teach Me How to Dougie from Cali Swag District was a popular song around this moment. And I'm still waiting for someone to teach me how to Dougie, but I won't make you wait any longer for this episode. From May 29th of 2023, this is episode 157 of Chris DeMakes a Podcast. Slug discusses Atmosphere's The Best Day.
Hey gang, today's guest is rapper Sean Daley, perhaps better known as Slug, from the Minneapolis hip-hop duo Atmosphere. Together, we break down the writing, recording, and inspiration behind The Best Day, taken from their 2010 EP, To All My Friends, Blood Makes the Blade Holy. Arrangement-wise, the song has one chord progression throughout, and the instrumentation is rather sparse, which leaves all the room in the world for the lyrics, and the story that they tell. A story that Sean mentioned is autobiographical. Not necessarily what he was going through when he wrote it, but what he went through prior in his younger years. Sean used the term yellow to describe the track, a term I'd previously never heard of when discussing music, but his description is spot on. Atmosphere has an eclectic catalog, hinging on what I'd term experimental hip-hop at points. The Best Day is awesome, but this song isn't indicative of their sound as a whole. These guys can go deep. For all this and a tip of the hat to Al Jarreau, don't touch that dial.
Hey, hey, have you heard? Chris DeMakes a podcast. Hey, hey, have you heard? Chris DeMakes a podcast. Hey, hey, have you heard? Chris DeMakes a podcast. Hey, hey, have you heard? Chris DeMakes a podcast.
Hey, Sean, how's it going?
It's great. How are you, Chris?
I'm good. It's a pleasure to meet you across the internet here, across the wire. You know, I've been researching a lot and certainly have heard of Atmosphere over the years, but when I dove into what you guys have done since forming in 1996, talk about prolific. 12 studio albums and 10 EPs, and you're still out there doing it. Congratulations.
I appreciate that. Thank you very much. When you word it like that, I'm like, oh man. Jeez, I'm tired.
No, I have a word for it. My listeners have heard me say it. You're a lifer, and I back that. You know, I'm a lifer. You know, not everybody can live out of a suitcase and do what we do. It's, you know, I don't care if you have the best accommodations, and you can attest to this. It's just nothing will beat your own bed.
Nothing. Yeah, you know, that's 100% true. It's funny because when I meet younger people who are like, hey, give me some advice and give me this and that. And it's like you always want to like say something inspiring, but you also want to say something honest. And oftentimes those two things can contradict each other depending on the mind state you're actually in that moment when they ask. And so one thing I always try to say is like, hey, I want to tell you congratulations and you have my condolences, because it's a heartbreaking, art is a heartbreaking career to chase, you know.
It's a heartbreaking journey. You know, I've always kind of, you know, associated rap and hip hop kind of with punk rock. You know, they kind of come from the same place lyrically a lot of times. You know, the hip hop and the rap, they would just, you know, pick a place like an abandoned laundry room and they'd throw a show, and punkers would do that. How was it for you coming up in Minneapolis? What was that like in the early days?
In Minneapolis, there was a lot of groundwork that had been built to create quite a DIY and independent, self-sufficient punk scene that I knew nothing about until I got older. And so for me, I didn't have that opportunity to compare what was happening in hip-hop in the city, in the scene, in the different crews, to what was going on with punk rock until I got a little bit older. But for me coming up in hip hop, it was very separated. Everybody was separated into their own neighborhoods, you know, especially because you're kids and all you got is a bike, and you're not like driving, you know, you're not going to ride a bike from South Minneapolis over to St. Paul to see what's happening and see what kind of breakdancing is going on over there, you know? So it was very neighborhood oriented, and there was no hopes or ideas of like throwing shows from my beginnings. It was just about getting props and getting recognized in your own school by, you know, oh, that kid can break dance, or that kid writes graffiti, or that kid can rap, or that kid does all of it. You know what I mean? It was like, and it was an identity thing. You were connected to it and you heard it and related to it based on, I think, what your upbringing was like, because a lot of early rap spoke to upbringings around the world, not just the Bronx, like where it was born, you know. So interestingly enough, that neighborhood in the Bronx, in the South Bronx, created this voice that resonated in all urban environments across the country, across the world, you know. And I think because of, you know, a couple of golden rules, which is, you know, don't trust the cops. They're not here for you. They're here to hurt you. Don't trust the man. The man is here to hold you down. You know what I'm saying? And basically, you know, speaking to the black and brown youth of America, and then, you know, people like me, because of the neighborhood I grew up in, also was able to understand, relate, and translate, and just feel that same communication, and so that's all we had as kids. That and then radio would play the music, but you didn't realize that there was like the opportunity to turn this into careers back then. It was not. It wasn't even until later that we started throwing shows, and even then, it wasn't because we were like, we want to be rappers full time. It was like, we're doing this because we again want recognition and props in our own city. You know, you did it almost at a competitive level of, you know, who's doing this, who's getting it in, who's getting known, who could freestyle battle really well, who's the best battler in town, you know, things of that nature.
Did you feel any segregation being a white kid going to shows? Was it did you feel it was inclusive? Because I remember when Public Enemy went on tour with Anthrax in the early 90s, they looked out and it was just like a sea of white kids. And they were like, what? And, you know, they had pockets of people going off for them. But there was a time there years ago when the scenes, you know, they were pretty separated.
I never felt unwelcome in any of the scenes that I moved around in outside of competitiveness. And so there was that type, you know, oh, you're from a different neighborhood, whatever. But because I think, you know, because of the school I went to and the friends that I grew up with, I was accepted because I don't want to say co-signed because that makes it sound like it was official or something. But it was just like because of who I moved around, I was also accepted in that regard. It just was like, hey, this dude raps and writes graffiti, you know. But also, this is Minneapolis is a very like the neighborhoods were more diverse, let's say. It wasn't like, you know, the white kids lived over here and the black kids lived over here. You know, it was kind of like a working class area, specifically on the South Side where I grew up. And so hip hop was a part of the area. So I think it was only natural that you would start to see a couple of the more paler kids joining in and breakdancing, graffitiing, and what have you. But I didn't start to actually feel any specific like pushback from like a race space until we started to go national. And that's when I realized, oh, not everything is like it is in Minneapolis. You know what I'm saying? And that's not to say, you know, in Minneapolis, I mean, the inequities are far worse for black and brown people than for white people still, just because it's America. But there was a more of a mixed race kind of situation here. You know, it used to be a joke that Minneapolis was the land of 10,000 lakes, but really it was the land of 10,000 brown babies with white moms, because it was a very integrated family situation going on here too. You know, it was like, I even believe it was like a safer space for mixed race families to move to from more southern states back in the day. It was kind of, I don't want to call it a safe haven because that's probably overstepping, but it was a safer space, I think, for mixed marriages. My father was mixed, and I know that my grandfather and my grandmother, they moved up here from Iowa just because it was safer up here than it was down in Iowa, and that's just one state away from me.
What was the allure for rap and hip hop for you? You know, what was the first band you heard and you're like, man, that's cool?
When I first started hearing hip hop, I had no idea that it was anything different than disco or Earth, Wind and Fire. You know, I heard it in my dad's car. I was a kid, and it just played on the radio alongside other black groups on urban radio. So to me, it was just my dad's music. But when Run DMC happened, and I've said this before, when Run DMC happened and I saw my dad react negatively to being yelled at by these teenagers, that's when I was like, this is for me. This is not my father's music. You know what I'm saying? Like, that's when I was just like, okay, here, I'm down with anybody that makes my dad flinch. That's how I saw that. Yeah.
With me, it was probably a Slayer record or something my dad threw across the room. It's like, no, And then you're like, well, that's what I want to listen to then.
You know, the funny thing is, looking back on it, I look at that event, Run DMC, that was an actual event in my life. And I don't mean a show or anything, I just mean their introduction to my life is core memory stuff. And I also look at there was, not only did I pivot towards it, but I watched my father then pivot further away from just even exciting music. I think that when Run DMC happened, it was so traumatizing for him that he suddenly went and got into smooth jazz. You know what I'm saying? And so it was kind of like, it was a very weird moment between the two of us for when hip hop changed to being a little bit more boom bap, a little more electro even. You know what I'm saying? I feel like that was when it got away from disco and got a little more harder with what people were talking about and their actual delivery. he went for like this more softer toned stuff, like the
He's listening to Al Jarreau.
Al Jarreau, man. Exactly.
Yeah.
Late stage Herbie Hancock,
There you go. Well, this is really interesting that you bring that up, because we've had DMC on the show, and what a sweetheart of a man. What an incredible person. Can't say enough about him, and what pioneers they were. It's no surprise you say Run DMC, but they were pretty tame compared to what happened now. They weren't singing about drugs. They weren't singing about gang life, or anything that was happening later. So it's kind of surprising your dad had that reaction.
I don't even think my father was listening to the lyrics. You know what I'm saying? Like, I think it was all about, they were yelling at him. And not only are they yelling at him, but it's like they're yelling at him over drum machines and so it was just kind of like my father was that typical, this isn't music. You know what I'm saying? Like kind of, and so it was just like, oh, yeah, well, it's not this for me then. This is all day, Run DMC and the Fat Boys too, but he was okay with the Fat Boys because there was always some sort of like humor involved in a lot of their music and their antics and whatnot. And I think that he saw that as more of the fad that the adults wanted to think that rap music was going to be. You know what I'm saying? Like, I think the Fat Boys were able to like sneak in by not scaring the parents. The parents were like, oh, this is that new fad. But actually the Fat Boys came in and they said a lot of stuff to us that resonated with us because they were actually rapping about stuff in between the dad jokes,
Sure. Well, just to recap again, 12 studio albums, 10 EPs. Your most recent album just came out. So Many Other Realities Exist Simultaneously. You guys have been out there just playing forever, shows year after year. And I gotta ask before we dive into the track, Sean, I hear you were invited by Rick Rubin in 2008 to work on the record When Life Gives You Lemons, You Paint That Shit Gold. And that's just, to me, crazy because, Rick, he kind of started the whole thing with Run DMC.
That story has blossomed into some sort of legend that sits on its own now. And anytime I hear somebody bring it up, I always find myself like trying to correct it because I don't want it to like be wrong.
Is that not true?
Well, it's there. Here's the story. Here's the truth. Rick showed up at a show once in 2004, I think, or 03. I can't remember. And he was like, hey, he came, he told us, great job. He expressed interest. I was at the time, we were, stage diving and moshing and stuff in our sets. And I think he saw the energy and he was like, hey, there's something to this. And so he invited me to come visit him at his at his lair and said, bring what you're working on. I was like, okay. So I had 4-track stuff for an album that would eventually become an album called You Can't Imagine How Much Fun We're Having, and which was, I think, the precursor to Lemons. And so timeline, I think I visited Rick in 2004 and played a bunch of demos for him, which I'm pretty sure he wasn't super into any of them, but he kind of just did the Rick nod and smile the whole time. So it was validating because he was like, hey, this stuff is great, but I could kind of tell it wasn't landing. And so I was like, okay, well, you're Rick Rubin. So to me, I'm like, whatever it is, let's figure out what it is, And so I was like, let me introduce you to my producer and let's all sit down and have lunch or whatever. And he's like, yeah, so Ant, who's my better half, it's me and him in Atmosphere. Yep. So Ant came out and we all went and had lunch and talked. And I think walked away with, he was such a super nice and understanding guy, so that when I was like, hey, this is kind of how I work, this is how I operate, and he was so cool and understanding about that, but also I could tell it wasn't how and what he's Rick Rubin, he's busy, he's not going to have time to navigate all the little ideas I have, and so it was not a thing that was meant to be, but more so it was like a mutual respect. Like I walked away from that situation going, wow, like I feel genuinely respected by this person, which is somebody that I think, that was another core memory, even though I was in my 30s at the time. It was a thing where it was like, that's what respect feels like. This whole time, up until that point in this game, whether locally, nationally, internationally, no matter who I was around, I saw respect as this thing of like, you receive it for your accomplishments or it's an accolade. It's a thing that you get based on what you do. And he didn't. He respected me for who I was, and I feel like that was the first time I had felt that from another a pioneer of this art that I'm trying to be a part of.
Right, and that's why I brought it up, because he would mention Run DMC, and I had it in my notes here. I was like, oh, I got to talk about that. So, but just what you're saying about the validation, I know exactly what you mean. I've never seen Rick come in with a band and try to change that band. That's not what he does. He just makes them sound the best that they can sound. So the fact that he didn't say to you, well, yeah, let's bring in somebody else and try to make this something that it isn't, I think he bowed out gracefully.
Yep. No, it was really cool, man. And to this day, like I'll fight you if you say something bad about that guy.
That's awesome. Well, again, tons of records, tour after tour. In 2010, you released an EP called To All My Friends, Blood Makes the Blood Holy, the Atmosphere EPs. And the song we're going to talk about, The Best Day, comes from that record. And we're going to jump into this song now. And I got to ask you, just to start off, what do you think it is about this track? Why it's become kind of risen to the top as one of your most popular songs? Because, man, I've taken a deep dive into the catalog. You're kind of all over the map. That you don't fit one style. You can't listen to one song and say that's indicative of the whole Atmosphere sound. So what is it about this song? I have my ideas of why, but I want to kind of hear from you. Why did this song kind of encapsulate what you guys do?
Well, it's yellow. And oftentimes when we make songs that are yellow, they tend to be show, like live performance faves. They're ones that we get asked to perform. They're ones that people, when we do perform them, people sing along and they dance. People dance to this song, and they don't dance to a lot of our music. But when we play this one live, people move to it, And so I think something about the speed, the fact that it's yellow. Yellow is when you can provide a yellow song for somebody, what's the best way to articulate this? Okay, everybody knows how to paint with dark colors. It's easy. And everybody relates to dark. Everybody has that. They have access to that feeling. But when you can paint with brighter colors, when you can make something out of colors that are those are more rare. And so I think we all want those, but we don't think that we want them. We go for the darker stuff because we're brooding and we lost our love of our life and we're broke and we're going through it and we're rock bottoming and whatnot. But the truth is, like, I look at what kids like, and kids love the bright stuff because they haven't quite figured out that the dark stuff is like that. You know what I'm saying? So I do think that us being able to hit a brighter color like that, which is pretty rare for us actually, but when we do, it tends to be the ones that people gravitate to and they want to hear live. And so I think a lot of the success of that song particularly has less to do with us and more to do with what people are looking for, which I mean ultimately is hope. And that's kind of what that song is about. It's a song about hope. And it's told in ways that are in relatable, dark ways. There's a juxtaposition because the stories and the things that I'm speaking on are not necessarily like optimistic things, but the bottom line is there's hope in the background. You know what I mean? And so I can't really take credit for why people like that. Anthony can take some of the credit for that because he is the one that curated it to go in that direction with the yellow and the piano. The original version of the song wasn't like that at all.
Do you have a demo of the original version?
I have a demo somewhere of the original version, but yeah, there's a version somewhere of it when it's like it's more of a New York kind of it's got a New York kind of feel to it, especially what New York was doing in the mid 2000s.
Okay,
it's a little bit of like a soul sample, but a little tinge of optimism, but also a tinge of like underlying soul, and it was cool. But it didn't hit the way this one hit. This version of the song ended up being the version because it almost sounded like, with the piano and the guitar, it sounded like the montage at the end of the Mafia movie where they're starting to show all the different people dead. Like here's a guy in the dumpster and you're slow-mo backing away of this guy who's in a trunk. You know what I mean? And that's the kind of vibe that the song ended up kind of having. And so we were just like, oh, this is way better,
Was anything sampled from another artist musically in this song, or is this all created by you guys?
This one has no samples in it. This one was created at a time when we were also working with live players here from our city, and so this one, and that's the other thing. The demo version was all sample, yeah.
Okay. I didn't think so. Okay. Well, we're going to jump into the song right now. It's 3 minutes and 36 seconds. It's a 16-bar intro. The progression of this song is D flat 7, F sharp, and F sharp major for the whole song. And that's the thing about rap. I think that's one of the main allures, is it doesn't need to go anywhere sometimes. In fact, this song just has verses and choruses. There's no bridge departures. It's the story about what you're talking about here. The first 8 bars, there's this cool chromatic like walk down piano part with bass stabs on bars 1, 3, 5, and 7, continuing every other bar. On bar 9, the kick drum comes in, tambourine and shaker join the mix as well, and a super clean jazzy sounding guitar is playing chords. On bar 15, everything stops except for a little 5-note guitar lick that takes us into verse 1.
I had a rough day, but that's life, it happens. Woke up on the dark side of my mattress. I guess I forgot to set my clock. Overslept, almost lost the job. And to top it off, I'm kinda hungry, but can't eat till I find my money. It's in my wallet, but my wallet ain't in my pocket. Can't remember the last time I saw it.
So is there a way I can get a recording of you breaking all that down? Because it sounded like you broke it like a baker. Do you bake?
No, I really don't. I mean, I could probably bake some cookies if I needed to, but no, I'm not a baker.
That was amazing. That was like chemistry. Like, I've never heard anybody say anything about our music like that before, and so I would love to be able to show Anthony what you said.
Well, when it comes out, you could show him, absolutely.
There it is.
Yeah, no, that's what we do here. I'm going to pick apart every nuance of this thing. We're going to go through it. But again, I got to tell you, it's the story of this song and it's your delivery. And there's some words and some things you say in here that just, it's always, for me, when you imagine doing another style of music, for me, it's like, can I sell it? If I tried to do this, I'd be laughed out of the room, okay? I could practice for a month and I could kind of get there, but it wouldn't be what you do. There's a delivery and a flow here that's just incredible. I had a rough day, but that's life. It happens. Woke up on a dark side of my mattress. I guess I forgot to set my clock. Overslept, almost lost the job. And to top it off, I'm kind of hungry, but can't eat till I find my money. It's in my wallet, but my wallet ain't in my pocket. Can't remember the last time I saw it.
I mean, I come from the world of, prior to rapping, I've had lots of jobs, and all of them had low ceilings, meaning to say that's what my future had for me. I didn't go to college. I did graduate high school, but I had a kid shortly after, and I joined the labor force looking for the type of space that would give me overtime after 40 hours and some health insurance to help cover my kid. So coming from that world, it's not hard to write about what you might see any given day. On even a good day, you might be looking at trying to figure out how you're going to feed your grumbling tummy just to get enough calories to get you through that workday. And that's kind of, that was not hard for me to draw from at that point, because it wasn't that long ago prior to that I was looking at days like that.
Well, that's what I was going to ask. Was this written? I know it came out in 2010. Was it, something you had stuffed in a notebook for years? Or I'm sure you're always jotting down lyrics, or was this something freshly written then?
No, I was freshly written. I had already been, self-employed for some time at that point, but I hadn't drifted so far from that point in time that I couldn't just look over my shoulder and still see it. You know what I'm saying? And so I was just drawing from, my own human experience.
I call it the decade lapse. I've always felt that artists' lyrics, if you look at them, it's what happened to them 10 years prior. That's what they're talking about now.
I like that.
Yeah, because, you're living in the now. It's hard to write about right now. Sometimes it's not, but, for the most part, your best ideas, at least mine do, they come from reflection.
I like that. Well, yeah, you have more perspective, too, when you're looking, what do they say? Hindsight is 20/20.
Absolutely.
They need to change that phrase now that we've seen what 20/20 really looks like.
Absolutely. Well, halfway through where we stop lyrically here, that 5-note guitar lick from the end of the intro. I'm calling it a running theme here, Sean. It's like the hook of the song. That little thing, it happens over and over again. And, since I started doing this podcast, I've broke down hundreds of songs, and I've listened to music like you have my whole life. But I've never really centered in on little things, and I've said it many times, my listeners know, but that guitar lick, you probably never thought about it when you wrote the song. Oh, it's just a little part there. I'm calling it one of the big hooks of this song.
That is the Joe Pesci of this song. When I talk about how this is the montage of all of the when this is the montage of all of the wise guys showing up dead all over New Jersey, that's the Joe Pesci of that guitar lick.
Can't remember the last time I saw it, and they don't want me in a bad mood. Afraid that it'll spread and everyone will catch an attitude. They got them all singing the same tune, thinking I should go and start a fire in the break room. Co-workers make me sick, and the manager really ain't shit. But I can't quit, so I'm hiding in the basement, holding on to my face like fuck this place. Every day.
And they don't want me in a bad mood, afraid that it'll spread and everyone will catch an attitude. They got them all singing the same tone, thinking I should go and start a fire in the break room. Coworkers make me sick, and the manager really ain't shit. But I can't quit, so I'm hiding in the basement, holding on to my face like fuck this place. Who can't relate to that, man? The boss, the manager really ain't shit. I mean, when I was listening to that lyric, I flashed back to working at Wendy's when I was in high school, just straight back.
Let it be known, there's no such thing as a manager who is shit. All managers ain't shit. And even the nice ones, like, they're still not shit. And they should know that, because the problem is, I guess, you know what? They can break that wall if they recognize that they're not shit. Then if you're a manager and you know you ain't shit and you wear it on your sleeve and you're transparent and with your peers and with your coworkers, then you're a cool ass manager. Other than that, you ain't shit.
Whoa, let it shine. Whoa, let it shine. Whoa, let it.
Hey, we got lots more coming up with Slug after a few words from our sponsors.
Looking to elevate your music career? DistroKid is a digital music distribution service that enables musicians to distribute their music to online stores and streaming platforms such as Spotify, Apple Music, YouTube Music, Amazon, Tidal, and many more. DistroKid collects earnings and payments, sending them to you, the artist. With DistroKid, artists unlock a world of possibilities. From easily paying collaborators with splits to securing your music with DistroLock, DistroKid covers all bases. Plus, you can promote your releases with Hyperfollow and create eye-catching visuals with a Spotify Canvas generator, all for free. But that's not all. Introducing the DistroKid app, now available on iOS and Android. Artists can manage their releases, view streaming stats, and withdraw earnings, all from the palm of their hand. And for those looking to perfect their sound, check out Mixia. With its simple interface and customizable mastering options, artists can make their music sound polished and professional within minutes. And don't forget about Instant Share, DistroKid's newest feature. Share large files securely with collaborators, producers, and more, ensuring your music streams at the highest quality. Ready to take your music to the next level? Download the DistroKid app and explore their suite of tools today. Plus, listeners can enjoy 30% off their first year by visiting distrokid.com/VIP/DeMakes. That's distrokid.com/VIP/DeMakes.
When you think about businesses that are selling through the roof, like Skims or Allbirds, sure, you think about a great product, a cool brand, and great marketing. But an often overlooked secret is actually the businesses behind the business, making selling and for shoppers buying simple. For millions of businesses, that business is Shopify. It's home of ShopPay, the #1 checkout in the world. You can use it to boost conversions up to 50%, meaning way less carts going abandoned and way more sales going through to checkout. Upgrade your business and get the same checkout Allbirds uses. Sign up for your $1 per month trial period at shopify.com/income, all lowercase. Go to shopify.com/income to upgrade your selling today. Shopify.com/income. AI isn't coming. It's already transforming marketing and business. See how at MACON 2025, October 14th through 16th in Cleveland. Evergreen Podcasts is proud to be the official podcast partner, recording live on site and meeting with more than 1,500 marketing leaders. You'll learn from leaders at Google Cloud, Meta, Snowflake, and HeyGen, sharing what's working and what isn't. Transformation starts here. And with our special code, PODS200, you'll save $200 off your ticket. Join us at the Huntington Convention Center. Register today at macon.ai. That's MAICON.ai.
When did making plans get this complicated? It's time to streamline with WhatsApp, the secure messaging app that brings the whole group together. Use polls to settle dinner plans. Send event invites and pin messages so no one forgets Mom's 60th. And never miss a meme or milestone. All protected with end-to-end encryption. It's time for WhatsApp. Message privately with everyone. Learn more at whatsapp.com.
This episode is brought to you by State Farm. Listening to this podcast? Smart move. Being financially savvy? Smart move. Another smart move? Having State Farm help you create a competitive price when you choose to bundle home and auto. Bundling, just another way to save with the personal price plan. Like a good neighbor, State Farm is there. Prices are based on rating plans that vary by state. Coverage options are selected by the customer. Availability, amount of discounts and savings, and eligibility vary by state.
Upgrade your laundry routine with a durable and reliable Maytag laundry pair at Lowe's. Like the new Maytag washer and dryer with performance-enhanced stain-fighting power. Designed to cut through serious dirt and grime. And what's great is this laundry pair is in stock and ready for delivery when you need it the most. Don't miss out. Shop Maytag in-store or online today at Lowe's.
Acting hard, settle down, barbecue in the backyard. The kids get treats and old folks get classic cars.
And now, back to the show.
Chorus 1 comes in at the 1 minute exactly mark. It's a double chorus. And, you mentioned a little bit ago about the dance element. You see people dancing to this song. It's really, to me, when this chorus hits, it's like you're moving now. Not that you're not moving in the verses, but this chorus is just so singable. I find that a lot in rap. People, a lot of times, you've heard this, how many times, all they do is talk or they're just rapping. It's not, there's a lot of melody that sometimes goes on, placement of where, you place the words. And I feel like this chorus is perfect.
This place, every day can't be the best day. Do what you can right now, don't hesitate. That's why we try to make love and get paid. Take the bad with the good, now let's play. Every day can't be the best day. Do what you can right now, don't hesitate. That's why we try to make love and get paid. Take the bad with the good, now let's play. Hell no, I ain't.
Well, in rap specifically, and I'm sure this applies to maybe punk as well, the chorus is a hook. We call it the hook. I know other genres call it the hook too, but we really mean it. We need that hook to capture people who don't rap. Because oftentimes, especially I'm older, so coming up when I was a kid, if you listen to rap music, then you probably also tried to rap. It's just kind of how it worked. And so for those of us that could rap, we listened to rap music and we were analyzing each other's verses. We were saying, I could do that, or I can't do that, or I'm better than this person, etc. The hook was the grand equalizer for all of us, because if you could write a good hook, it didn't even matter if you weren't as good at rapping as the best rapper alive. If you could write a good hook, then there was a space for you here because you could communicate what you were trying to say. So emphasis on the hook was big, and it was always about what can you get somebody to want to say with you? Because that's the other part. You don't got to sing very good to make a great rap hook. You don't have to hit notes. You don't have to. You can do something that any listener can go along with you with. Now, Black Thought from the Roots, he raps so good that it's hard to keep up with him. Even though I know his lyrics, it's hard to rap along. When I'm in the car rapping along to his music, it's hard to keep up with him. Good, that's how it should be. But when you get to the hook, make sure you give people something that they can keep up with. If you want a solid hook, otherwise just do what we do and go hookless. We go hookless all the time because it's like, oh, now the emphasis is on the moment or the movement or the, you know what I mean? But yeah.
Yeah. Sometimes I'll ask an artist, a rock band or a pop band or something. I'll say, did you ever think about, changing up the hook at the last chorus, like making it a little different, just something a little different. And I don't have to ask that here. I know why why you haven't Don't Change the Lyrics in the hook.
Yeah.
It's a rap song. For this song, it didn't need to change. And the lyric is, every day can't be the best day. Do what you can right now. Don't hesitate. That's why we try to make love and get paid. Take the bad with the good. Now let's play. And each chorus is a double chorus, so that happens again. Again, same chord progression, but a new guitar part comes in here and intertwines with a new piano part that's busier, which moves this chorus along. You know, it's again, the same progression, but it feels like it's moving faster because of the moving parts. It's great. And I got to ask you, are the chorus vocals doubled? Do you recall?
Oh, at least. I don't remember.
Okay.
But I promise at that time, we're talking like 2009, we probably recorded that. And at that time, I was definitely going through a phase of doubling my choruses, even still emphasizing some verse parts with, well, I'll never call them harmonies, but I'll call them stacks. We would stack verse parts just to give punch and emphasis, or to trick you into thinking there's movement going on that's not there. You know, things like that.
Are those actual doubles like of you doing it, or like doubling yourself in the computer? And the reason I ask that, because if you're singing with yourself here, it's tight.
Oh no, there are actually doubles with me. I never learned how to use a computer. I know how to make demos now on my laptop, but I am, not super tech savvy. I use GarageBand to record my vocals, and then I will do stacks in my GarageBand, but I've never learned how to like use any of the programs to just literally double them. I was always afraid to too, because then I'm afraid the engineer will be like, these are out of phase or something weird. Or he'll use words that I don't really understand. You know what I'm saying? So I keep it pretty basic, man. And if I can't stack it good enough to make it sound right or good, then the thing Anthony would say is, then it's not meant to be. Take the stacks off,
I've always felt that, a lot of times we try as artists, like the whole, if we put more stuff here, it's going to make it better. That's not always the case.
Right. Now, to be fair, while I take credit for doing these amazing stacks on this chorus, on this song, I'm going to keep it honest and say it probably, I'm going to just guess because I don't remember, but it probably took a long, long time to reach a space where I felt like I had 3 stacks that felt right. You know what I mean? It's like, it's one of those things where it's like, it was probably hit or miss. I'm not the kind of artist that can just pop into the booth and imitate myself perfectly, because every time the emotion's a little different for me. I end up going all over the place. I recently was taught a trick by somebody. A friend of mine named Evidence said, "Oh no, you don't take a headphone off when you do your stacks." And I was like, "What?" And he's like, "Yeah, you take one headphone off, and then you're only hearing yourself on the left." And I was like, "Oh, that's really interesting. I never thought of that." So I tried it and was like, "Oh my God, it totally works," because now I'm hearing myself on the right trying to imitate the left, and if I miss it, I know I missed immediately. I know I missed it, And so instead of taking a headphone off, what I do is I just pan the vocals to one side and then lay the stack in the center, and then pan that one to the other side and lay my next stack in the center, so that I'm always in the center of my head, but I have all, you know what I mean? And then you can kind of hear what you're doing the way you want it to sound anyway,
And we haven't really talked about stacks on this show. I'm familiar with the terminology, but for the listeners, basically what Sean's saying is that he'll do one vocal and then he'll be listening and it'll come up to that vocal again, and he's going to repeat that line or that word, essentially forming a stack. He'll do another one. So there'll be 2 or 3 or 4 or however many vocals on that one part, which again, your stacking's pretty impressive, because man, there's not many rubs here. It's really, really tight.
Personally, I think stacking is great for the production of the song. I think if you're trying to like give the song a little bit of depth to the sound, stacking is great, but I also do believe it takes away from the emotion. I think if you have a song that's about something that's important to you or is serious, I think that stacking, actually adding that extra production, actually takes away from the raw emotion of what that song could be. So I'm now that I'm older, even older again and older again, I've toned down a lot of my stacking. It's like a lot of the music nowadays, I let it go without any extra environment, just my one shot, my one vocal through. Same with the choruses. I'll do choruses now with just the one vocal, because I feel like, hey, there's something a lot more intimate about that. And so if I want you to come into the song and meet me in the song where I want to be met, that's a better way of doing it.
Well, out of chorus 1, we go straight into verse 2.
Let's play. Hell no, I ain't going to school. The teacher's a jerk, he must think I'm a fool. And all the kids mess with each other always, all day. Class warfare up and down the hallways. And if you ain't popular, nobody talks to you unless they mocking you. Not even the bus driver or the hall monitor. I might as well climb inside my locker, huh? It's a bad day, bad week, and a bad month. Don't nobody wanna trade with my bag lunch. Someday I'ma be so cool, but for now I got cheap shoes, so I keep losing. Girls give no love to a poor man. It's a prison, the clock is warden, and it won't get no better when I get home. So I listen to the voice in my headphones. It say, every day can't be.
Hell nah, I ain't going to school. The teacher's a jerk, he must think I'm a fool. And all the kids mess with each other always, all day. Class warfare up and down the hallways. And if you ain't popular, nobody talks to you unless they mocking you. Not even the bus driver or the hall monitor. I might as well climb inside my locker, huh? It's a bad day, bad week, and a bad month. Don't nobody want to trade with my bag lunch? That's the line, the bag lunch. I don't think I ever traded with somebody's bag lunch. If they had a tuna sandwich, I was running, buddy.
Man, I don't know if anybody in the world has ever traded. I think it's just it's something that television created out of thin air. And we all are familiar with what it looks like when the two students trade those lunches, but I don't think it actually happens in real life. And so I wasn't drawing from real experience when I said that. I think I was drawing from the real experience of having been a kid that watched a lot of television. I love that part of the verse. The thing that you just quoted is, to me, the best part of this song.
I agree. Yeah, there's something about that little turnaround there, using all the bad day, bad week, bad month, and then getting bag on a kind of a soft rhyme there with bag lunch. Halfway through here, I might as well climb inside my locker, huh? We get that 5-note guitar hook. And I'm going to continue on. I wanted to read up to bag lunch because I love that line, but it continues on. Someday I'ma be so cool, but for now I got cheap shoes, so I keep losing. Girls give no love to a poor man. It's a prison. The clock is warden. Man, it won't get no better when I get home. So I listen to the voice in my headphones. And that line, it's a prison. The clock is warden. Like a warden of a prison?
Yeah. Like the clock is what's watching you while you're in the yard. You know, that clock is keeping an eye on you, and you're keeping an eye on the clock. You're always watching where that clock is at. Like, is the clock there? Is it where are we at? You know?
At the end of verse 2, we get that 5-note hook again. And I'm noticing here on verse 2, I was intently listening for, is there more layers coming in? Is there something more? And verse 2 is pretty much, from what I can hear, the same as verse 1. And again, a lot of times when you're deconstructing rock songs or pop songs, they'll do this build, and some rap songs too, of course, but here it's about the lyric. You don't want a bunch of stuff overshadowing what you're saying, with the story here.
You know, one thing I'll say is, too, if you take me off of this track and just created an instrumental track, it might not have had the same effect on the people who appreciate this track. But much like when I first heard this track, the effect it had on me was, I want to rap over that. So I always knew this beat was super solid, even without any change-ups or progressions going on, even though it kind of had a second verse, just like the first kind of a thing going on as its theme. It had what I guess reminds me of a perfect kind of like DJ Premier production, where Premier would have a very similar thing. It's like, look, here's the beat, and if you can crack the code and make magic out of this beat, then this is going to be a great song. And that is the type. That's the type of hip hop music that I always tried to make. I wanted to make music that reminded me of Gang Starr, that reminded me of De La Soul, and what it is it's like this. It's you're creating something out of nothing is kind of the mind state here, you know, and that's kind of what the tenets of hip hop was founded on. You know, you did have people in the Bronx who literally had nothing, and they created what might possibly be the most powerful genre of music tool to take over the world in the last 50 years.
I wish Gang Starr was mentioned more often. They don't get enough credit.
Oh man, easily. Guru had one of the best voices in the last 50 years of hip hop. I think he might have the best voice that you've ever heard rap.
Fresh out the gate again, time to raise the stakes again. Fatten my plate again. Y'all cats know we always play to win. GNG to the stars, son. Haters took this shit too far, son. So that's all for you. I'm wiping out your whole team. Ow, splatter your dreams with lyrics to shatter your schemes. The badder you seem, the more lies you tell. The more lies you shall. Not by surprise you fell into my death trap, right into my...
There's a lot of great voices, don't get me wrong, but Guru might be the best, and DJ Premier might be the most influential producer in hip hop of all time. You know, I mean, maybe neck and neck with him and Dre.
Mm-hmm. Well, right off of verse 2, again, no bridges, no detours in this song. It's just right into chorus 2. We get a double chorus again. Same lyrics as the first chorus, same instrumentation as chorus 1.
It say, every day can't be the best day. Do what you can right now, don't hesitate. That's why we try to make love and get paid. Take the bad with the good, now let's play. Every day can't be the best day. Do what you can right now, don't hesitate. That's why we try to make love and get paid. Take the bad with the good, now let's play.
I will ask, by this time in the song, was there ever any talk of maybe we should have a musical departure? Maybe we should do a bridge or something out of the ordinary? Throw a left hook here, or was it always kind of the same that you recall?
You know, I don't remember. That's possible because it's always something that is on our radar. We do have bridges. We do things. We do change ups. We do pull something out or add something to. Specifically, if you make it to a third verse, that's a lot in rap. I've said a lot of words at this point. In rap, I say more words in my first verse of a song than most rock bands say in a whole song if you just count the words.
For sure.
So by this time, you get to the third verse, that's the wrap it up verse. And with us specifically, oftentimes if you listen to just the third verses of our music, you'll hear these are the moral to the story. Like, here's the wrap it up part. So you'll have one story, then you'll have a second narrative, and then you'll have the wrap it together, get us out of here.
I've always had a soft spot for rappers because, you know, for me to get great lyrics in a rock song, just one song, it takes everything out of me. I couldn't imagine having to write all the, you know, for almost every song that you write, you're telling these elaborate stories. It's a lot of information. It has to all coalesce together too.
You really have to be the kind of person that loves to hear yourself talk to be a rapper, period. Like you have to love the sound of your own voice. You know what I mean? And you have to feel like you got something to say. That's a funny thing too. Yeah. There's not a whole lot of like introverts who are rappers.
Let's play. Can't dance with an upset stomach. The overdraft notices just kept coming. Somebody broke into the porch and stole a chair. Top of your head stopped growing hair. Broken glass, computer crash. The car won't start and the tires went flat. Dog got loose, brought back a dead cat. Daughter found it and had a panic attack.
Can't dance with an upset stomach. The overdraft notices just kept coming. Love that line. Somebody broke into the porch and stole a chair. Top of your head stopped growing hair. Broken glass, computer crashed. The car won't start and the tires went flat. Dog got loose, brought back a dead cat. Daughter found it and had a panic attack. Is that autobiographical? Is that true? Your daughter had a panic attack with the cat?
I don't have a daughter.
Okay.
Yeah, no, that was not autobiographical. That was not autobiographical.
Okay. Right there at that moment, we get that 5-note guitar hook. And was that ever talked about? Did you ever say, hey, this has to come, because it's featured a lot in this song, or did it just happen? And how did it happen? Do you remember?
You know, I think that Anthony likes turnarounds, and to him, that guitar note is the equivalent of a drum roll. So that 5-part thing there, imagine that as a drum roll. And in hip-hop, you'll know, in hip-hop, a lot of it is really all about drums. Like, it's all, especially the rap music that we know and love from the 80s, the 90s to now, you know, James Brown is the backbone for all of that. And it was always about those James Brown drums. And so that guitar turnaround, even though it's a guitar, it's a drum roll. It could have been a piano, still a drum roll. It's all about bringing you back up to the one. And so just imagine, you know, a lot of producers that make rap come from a DJ space. And so for them, everything's on the one. We want everything to be on the one. So if I do anything that's off the one, it's still to emphasize the one somehow.
That's awesome. Never heard that explained like that. That's great.
Plus you ain't had sex in how long? Afraid to admit that the fire's all gone. The better half is talking about separate. You wish you could take it back to yesterday. You're not alone, it's hard as hell, but don't waste no time feeling sorry for self. We'll be right here with you through your war, cause you're the one that we make this music for. And I turn it up every day.
Plus you ain't had sex in how long? Afraid to admit that the fire's all gone. The better half is talking about separate. You wish you could take it back to yesterday. You not alone, it's hard as hell. But don't waste no time feeling sorry for self. We'll be right here with you through your war, 'cause you're the one that we make this music for. Now turn it up.
Now turn it up. That's the now turn it up is totally not necessary. That was my drum roll. That was me giving something to lead up to the one. And also because I knew this was the end of the song before the last chorus. I knew that even live, we probably would never make it this far. It's hard for me to want to do 3 verses of a song on stage when you only get, 90 minutes or 115 minutes. It's like, let's get as much material as possible. So even when we perform this song, I can't remember. It's probably been a decade since I've made it to the 3rd verse. We usually get to the 2nd verse and figure out a way to parlay into something else that's going to keep the party going.
Okay, that's interesting. Well, there's something here. You talked about keeping the beat, the tempo, the drums interesting. I notice on the line here, afraid to admit that the fire's all gone. There's a little hiccup that happens to the drum groove on that line. It kind of stops, makes you go, whoa, why there? It's awesome, by the way.
Oh, I appreciate it. I appreciate you saying that and noticing it. I have always been a fan of doing drum mutes. And so really that hiccup that you're hearing is a mute. And so I think we took out a snare and 1 kick and probably a hat just to put almost like a quick little stutter step. It probably comes from jazz, but for me, it comes from A Tribe Called Quest. Q-Tip, when Q-Tip would make beats, he would do a similar thing sometimes. And so anytime I can find a place to do that, I will. The reason that it exists in the 3rd verse is for the same reason why sometimes live I don't even make it to the 3rd verse. It's in there because if we do get that far live, I want something to happen that I can use on some showmanship. So in a space like that, when that drum drops, you'll see me do something like stamp the ground or stand still or do something visually to go along with that moment. And in rap, at the time, we were touring with live instruments. A live band was on stage with us, but also I tour with DJs. And so in my head, I'm thinking if I'm going to be doing this with a DJ, we don't have as much control over the instruments. It's linear. You're going off of 2 turntables, a right and a left.
Yeah.
And so you work those types of change-ups into the actual song so that if you are going off of turntables, you can spin your instrumental and do your song, and that stutter step's there and you can always count on it. You don't have to turn around and fire a drummer for missing his spot. It's just always going to hit where you want it to hit, but I would say that I always look for those specifically in the later part of the songs because it's an opportunity to do something from a showmanship perspective.
I love that. That's awesome. Well, the last line here, you already kind of addressed it, that now turn it up, which is, you called it your little fill there. That placement doesn't happen in the other 2 verses, and I noticed that. It's really cool how it just kind of happens there, and it's nowhere else. Again, I'm going to beat this to death, but you get the 5-note guitar hook again there before we get into chorus 3.
To turn it up, every day can't be the best day. Do what you can right now, don't hesitate. That's why we try to make love and get paid. Take the bad with the good, now let's play. Every day can't be the best day. Do what you can right now, don't hesitate. That's why we try to make love and get paid. Take the bad with the good, now let's play.
I love this outro. At the last line, we get the 5-note guitar lick one more time that takes us into the outro, which is just shakers, bass, and tambourine for 8 bars. On the 8th bar, we get the 5-note lick again. I was wrong. It comes in again, followed by, and it's weird, I tried counting this. It sounds like the end's just loose with the piano playing by itself. It's almost like 6.5 bars. It's jarring. It just kind of stops. I don't think it's on a grid there at the end. It's really cool, though.
In my head, it's 3.5 bars, but you might be right. I can't remember. But again, we use that live. And when that piano part starts, I stand center stage in the front, and I hit the piano note in front of the audience. And then on the very last...
Oh, that's awesome.
On the very last one, I hit it hard. And then I throw my hand up in the sky, and then on the mic I say, #1 air piano player. and it's another dad joke, which I don't know why. The whole song is kind of full of dad jokes, you know, and it's funny because I've been dad joking now my whole career. It's just that in the day we used to call it, you know, self-deprecation or sardonic humor. Now we can see it for what it really is. I've been telling dad jokes since I was like 5. It just is what it is.
Well, man, this was an absolute blast. I love this track, and I dove into a bunch of your songs. You got some really, I would almost classify you guys as experimental rap at times. There's some wacky stuff going on. It's very different. This felt a little bit more, I'll coin your term, a little more yellow, but I love the story that was being told here, and I wanted to break it down, so thank you.
I appreciate it. And you know, we do try to challenge ourselves and push ourselves to go in directions to help us balance the fact that we also do make music that sometimes fits in a box. And that's intentional as well. It's all about cracking codes. And I think that most art is. You figure out how to crack a code or solve a puzzle to present an idea to somebody. And so sometimes you want to try and learn how to squeeze that code into an empty jar of peanut butter. Sometimes you got to learn how to like make that code into like a full-on tapestry, whatever, you know. But we've tried it all, man. We have tried to crack as many codes as possible, and it still is kind of the part that makes us the most excited to keep working, is to see what other types of puzzles we can solve.
That's awesome. Well, I want to thank you so much for sitting in. And before we break, again, got the new record out. So many other realities exist simultaneously. And is there anything else you'd like to leave the listeners with? Touring plans? What do you got coming up this summer?
We're going to be out all summer with Slightly Stupid and Sublime with Rome and The Movement. We're going to be running around a lot actually over the next year or so. It's almost frightening, but I'm really looking forward to it because at my heart I love to go record shopping, and this always gives me the chance to come to your city and buy all of your cool records. So thank you for having me, man. It really means a lot to be on your show, and thank you for breaking this song down. I think that you said things that was good for me to hear, because this is a song that we want to put on the set list for this summer, and just us talking about it gave me some ideas. So that's cool. I appreciate you.
And on my 21st birthday, already had my firstborn baby boy, and maybe homie saved my life. But Papa kept the motor running, I'ma come and see you later. Trying to color up some paper, trying to make this right. I realize most experiences are coincidental, but I'll never let go of these regrets I hold. That's why the pieces that we're missing always felt more special. Better bring some bigger pencils to sketch my soul. But yo, when I was 30.
Hey everybody, I hope you all enjoyed that conversation with Slug, but don't go anywhere. We got lots more Chris DeMakes a Podcast coming right up after a few words from our sponsors.
More rewards, more savings. With American Express Business Gold, earn up to $395 back in annual statement credits on eligible purchases at select shipping, food delivery, and retail subscription merchants, including the $155 Walmart Plus monthly membership credit and $240 flexible business credit. Enjoy the benefits of membership with the Amex Business Gold Card. Terms apply. Learn more at americanexpress.com/business-gold. Amex Business Gold Card. Built for business by American Express.
Eczema isn't always obvious, but it's real. And so is the relief from Ebglyss. After an initial dosing phase, about 4 in 10 people taking Ebglyss achieved itch relief and clear or almost clear skin at 16 weeks. And most of those people maintain skin that's still more clear at 1 year with monthly dosing.
Ebglyss, lebrikizumab LBKZ, a 250 milligram per 2 milliliter injection, is a prescription medicine used to treat adults and children 12 years of age and older who weigh at least 88 pounds or 40 kilograms with moderate to severe eczema, also called atopic dermatitis, that is not well controlled with prescription therapies used on the skin or topicals, or who cannot use topical therapies. Ebglyss can be used with or without topical corticosteroids. Don't use if you're allergic to Ebglyss. Allergic reactions can occur that can be severe. Eye problems can occur. Tell your doctor if you have new or worsening eye problems. You should not receive a live vaccine when treated with Ebglyss. Before starting Ebglyss, tell your doctor if you have a parasitic infection.
Searching for real relief? Ask your doctor about Ebglyss and visit ebglyss.lilly.com or call 1-800-LILY-RX or 1-800-545-5979.
Tito's Handmade Vodka is America's favorite vodka for a reason. From the first legal distillery in Texas, Tito's is 6 times distilled till it's just right and naturally gluten-free, making it a high-quality spirit that mixes with just about anything, from the smoothest martinis to the best Bloody Marys. Tito's is known for giving back, teaming up with nonprofits to serve its communities and do good for dogs. Make your next cocktail with Tito's. Distilled and bottled by 5th Generation Inc., Austin, Texas. 40% alcohol by volume. Savor responsibly.
At Blinds.com, it's not just about window treatments. It's about you, your style, your space, your way. Whether you DIY or want the pros to handle it all, you'll have the confidence of knowing it's done right. From free expert design help to our 100% satisfaction guarantee, everything we do is made to fit your life and your windows. Because at Blinds.com, the only thing we treat better than windows is you. Visit Blinds.com now for up to 40% off site-wide and free professional installation. Rules and restrictions apply.
Do you like to laugh, geek out on music, and learn all about that band or artist who had that one song back in the day, but then seemed to fall off the face of the earth? If so, you need to subscribe to One Hit Thunder. Together with an array of interesting and hilarious guests, we do a weekly dive into one-hit wonders like Eiffel 65's Blue, Krayshawn's Gucci Gucci, EMF's Unbelievable, Delamitri's Roll to Me, Los Del Rio's Macarena, Musical Youth's Pass the Dutchie, and even Patrick Swayze's She's Like the Wind. So are you subscribed to One Hit Thunder or what? As Desiree would say, you gotta be. And as K7 would encourage, you gotta come, baby, come and join in on the fun of the One Hit Thunder podcast.
Come, baby, come, baby, baby, come, come. Come, baby, come, baby, baby, come. As we near the end of the show, here's a band you might not know.
Welcome to this week's Band You Might Not Know. If you'd like your band to be considered for Chris DeMakes a Podcast, all you have to do is email your best song via MP3 only and a short bio to bandyoumightnotknow@gmail.com. This week's featured artist is Catholic Guilt, a 5-piece band from Melbourne, Australia that combine elements of punk, alt-rock, and folk. You can find their music on all the streaming services. Here's a snippet of their song, Live for the Rush.
From the joys of victory, I wanna create and destroy at the same time. I wanna love and cry at once. I wanna change the world and not impact mine. I wanna feel everything all at once. I wanna live for the rush. Now I'm reading back
The Rap with Chris and Chris.
Chris, I'm glad we finally did another hip-hop episode. They're few and far between. I think the last one we did was DMC. I thought this was awesome. I thought it was really cool when Sean used the term yellow. Now, I've never heard that before. That's the first time I've heard someone describe a song as yellow, but I knew what he meant the second he said it. It's just so descriptive. I'm like, oh, I get it.
Yeah, no, I did too. And then the analogy he gave was even more left of center, where I kind of thought he was just kind of, I don't know, maybe another term for vanilla or pedestrian, just kind of whatever. But cool description that he gave.
Yeah, bright, colorful, makes you want to dance. And like you brought up, Chris, a lot of his music isn't like that.
No.
A lot of his music is on the darker side. So this is a departure for him as a song. And yeah, to a certain extent, it does explain why it would have maybe more of a mass appeal than other songs. But at the same time, it still has his style of lyrics. Like the lyrics, he's talking about real stuff in there.
Yeah, no, and this is stuff that he even agreed with me that, you know, when you're writing, you're a lot of times writing of stuff that happened to you many years ago because you've had time to reflect on it and process it. And that sounds like what was happening here. And he's just writing about, you know, day-to-day life, what was going on to him. And those types of lyrics resonate because who can't relate to having a crappy boss? I mean, it's kind of universal.
Right. I mean, he said it. People want hope. And a thing that personally gives me hope, and I'm sure a lot of people feel the same way, is when you can totally relate to the artist that you're listening to. When he's talking about working a 40-hour week at some job he hates, when he's talking about some manager he doesn't like or whatever, that's relatable stuff. And the most relatable thing of all to me, man, which I think you're this way, I think he's this way, I know a lot of people I know are this way, I can't work for somebody. That's probably why at this point in my life, it's still, to a certain extent a struggle, but that's because I'd rather have less money and work for myself than work for someone. I can't have someone tell me what to do.
Yeah. Well, there's also a believability. You've heard me say it on this show how many times, like I believe what the person's saying. And I even said it to Sean, I could go and practice this and try to rap it, but it would come across as, I don't know, some middle-aged dude doing karaoke. It wouldn't come off as genuine. That's not me. I didn't come from that. I didn't feel the things that he was feeling. But when I'm listening to this, it doesn't sound contrived.
Yeah. He came up loving that style of music. I mean, he's been at it. You said he's been prolific since 1996.
Yes.
Is that the year?
Yes.
I mean, that's a long career. And and also you brought this up. In rap, you really have to have something to say because you got to say a lot of stuff. In rock, sometimes we can get away with just a small set of lyrics and let the music do the talking sometimes. Not always. I know Less Than Jake has some songs that are pretty wordy, but in rap especially, you can't just go into a song and half-ass it. You really do have to have something to say. You have to have a point in that song or it's not going to be good.
Yeah, I remember reading the lyrics. I want to say it was the Marshall Mathers album LP from Eminem. And it was like 30 pages of lyrics. It was like, so you have to have something to say. You have to have a story. And think of how many, just like rock bands and anything else, how many rappers there are out there. And some just don't, like anything else, they just don't resonate. They don't make it because, their songs don't have that it factor. These guys, very storied career, kind of all over the place. When we got done talking to Sean, he had mentioned that they're going out this summer with Sublime from Rome and Slightly Stupid. And it's one of the first times that they went out on a package in many, many years. They've just been kind of coasting along, doing their own headlining shows. And I think they're the kind of band on that specific tour that's going to go over gangbusters.
Oh, they have crossed over to so many different genres. Like also after you got off, you guys were talking about how you were on the Warped Tour together in 2003 because they crossed over into the punk rock world. Yes, they'll cross over into the Sublime with Rome and Slightly Stupid world as well. They can go over with a reggae crowd. They can go over with a punk rock crowd. And of course, with a hip hop crowd, of course. And I think that's really cool to be able to do that. You're going to appeal to all kind of different kinds of people because they could take away things from the music, be it the lyrics, being just the way it makes you feel. It has that crossover appeal is what I'm getting at.
Definitely. For everybody listening, check out their catalog. Very interesting band. It's not cookie cutter. You're not going to find another song that sounds exactly like this, or they're really well-rounded in their craft. And 12 studio albums and 10 EPs. They're very prolific, as I said from the top. Just very, very impressive.
I really loved that episode, man. That was fun. It seemed like he had a fun time, too.
I think he did. I'll tell you what else is fun. Our supporting cast at ChrisDeMakes.com, where you can get bonus episodes. We call it the after party each week for the price of a cup of coffee. You can hear Chris and I talk each week about the episode at hand or whatever we want to talk about. ChrisDeMakes.com. Please go sign up. And if you haven't already, please join the Chris DeMakes a Podcast Facebook group. We'd love to have you. And give Chris Fafalius a follow on Instagram. Yeah. He wants your support. I have enough followers. Give Chris Fafalius.
Less than Chris D, too. Less than Chris D.
I'm old hat. And thanks to everyone out there for listening. Again, we love you guys. And I want to thank this week's guest, Sean Daley, for sitting in with us. And we'll see you next week.